An 8-year-old in police custody causing a viral video and a response all over the country. Also a 12-year-old accused of robbing Juli Boeheim at gunpoint at the mall. Fight after fight at Syracuse high schools have made news right here. We've covered all of these stories extensively over the last school year. And one thing we hear constantly is the need for more adults to help children get on and stay on the right path. CBS 5's Vanessa Rizzitano introduces us to a group of men among those stepping up.
There's a program here at Nottingham High School, as well as about a dozen other Syracuse schools, that's fighting to keep young men on the right path, a task that's not always easy. Just last month, building men expanded to Henniger High School, a troubled school in the district where fights breaking out on school grounds are becoming frequent. Joe Horan understands the pressure these kids are facing and why they may be acting out.
You know, takes a village nowadays to raise these kids. We just want to be a resource and help out where we can.
Horan is the coordinator of Building Men, a program made up of about 20 volunteers and school district staffers. It launched here in Syracuse in January 2006, and currently the group helps about 175 boys from 4th grade to 12th grade, which is why he stepped up as the coordinator of Building Men, a program in Syracuse schools trying to keep young men on the right path.
That we try to teach them to become a man, not the man.
Over the past 16 years, Building Men claims to have helped about 1,000 students with a 70% graduation rate. The program involves between 2 and 5 meetings each week. There are college campus visits, Christmas giveaways. They come together to make food for the homeless and take part in Earth Day cleanups. Many days after school, there are in-depth conversations with Building Men staffers and volunteers.
We talk about our core values of significance, integrity, and relationships. And we're hoping that our boys will, through this group mentoring, be able to find their vision, find their purpose in life, and we just help them navigate these tough roads of being a teenager nowadays.
They bring in people to talk to the students, like Syracuse Mayor Ben Walsh, who visited Nottingham High School.
Bringing the kids together in that program puts them in an environment where they can learn together, they can hold each other accountable, and as they do that, once they go out of the program, once they go back into their classroom or back into the neighborhood, they have a skill set that they can then model for kids around them.
The mayor calls Building Men a critical community partner in Syracuse.
Again, engaging with, especially with young men that may be at risk of going down the wrong path, and having that extra support at our schools to supplement all of the great things that our teachers and administrators are doing, we really think is helping to get our kids over the hump and through some of those difficult times and keep them on the right track.
Horan says they're now one of the many groups trying to help kids find the right path.
We have business owners come in and are talking to our young men about interview skills and resumes and job force readiness skills and how to prepare yourself for the workforce.
Horan says they can't do this alone. With youth crime and violence surging in Syracuse, he believes the need for this program is as critical now as it's been in its 16-year history.
There's a lot of really great organizations in our community that are doing their part, and I think if we all come together, I know when we're all coming together and we're all doing our part, we are making change in Syracuse.
Building Men leaves the program open to as many people as possible and tries not to turn anyone away, including the 175 currently involved. If a boy or teen were to be arrested for a crime, they can still participate in the Building Men program, but they still must be enrolled in school and have written permission from a parent or guardian.
Anybody growing up, going through middle school, going through high school, those are challenging times, and so to have mentors, to have support through the Building Men program is really important for our kids.
Right now, Building Men works with middle schools and high schools. They hope to soon expand to elementary schools to reach younger children in the community.
Who admitted to brutally torturing and killing Connie Torrey at the Skyline was punished for what she did today. Victoria Affett will spend nearly 30 years to life in prison. CBS 5 team coverage continues with Vanessa Rizzitano. She's with the Live Eye in Syracuse downtown.
Michael, that brutal murder of the vulnerable 93-year-old woman, as well as a plea deal back in January of this year, led us to the sentencing of Victoria Affett earlier this morning. The family of both the victim and the killer sitting behind, watching and listening closely.
I would like to apologize to the family of Connie Torrey. Thank you.
One sentence spoken in court by Victoria Affett. She took a plea deal in the brutal murder of 93-year-old Connie Torrey at Skyline Apartments. Judge Matthew Doran handed down the sentence of nearly 30 years to life in prison.
Ms. Affett, I hope that you live with this and think about it every day of your life. Every morning, when you see the sunrise, you see a sunrise that Connie Torrey will never see. Every night when you see a sunset, you'll see a sunset that she will never see because you took that out from her.
The Torrey family spoke too.
No one here today, not even Ms. Affett, knows the horror and intense suffering that consumed Connie's last few minutes of life. But we need to consider those last few minutes to try to understand the impact on Connie. I hope, and my family hopes, that Ms. Affett is haunted by those last few minutes of our aunt's life.
Affett's parents watched as their daughter was sentenced. Any thoughts on Victoria Affett being sentenced to potentially life in prison for the brutal murder of Connie Torrey? No condolences or anything you can say to Connie Torrey's family after the brutal murder?
Of course.
You offer your condolences to the family?
Of course.
But the condolences aren't enough for Connie Torrey's loved ones.
She can't take back what she did. She changed our family's life and changed the life of everyone involved in this case. She is a monster who deserves to spend the rest of her life in jail.
One of Affett's lawyers says that she took that plea deal back in January to spare the Torrey family from sitting at a trial, but the Torrey family is not believing or buying that. We'll hear more on that angle coming up tonight at 6 o'clock.
Michael, this week alone, there were 18 police calls to the Skyline Apartments. The Greater Syracuse Tenants Network tells me she doesn't see the light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to crime at the apartment complex. 2 years later, and tenants don't feel safe at the Skyline Apartments. Executive Director at the Greater Syracuse Tenants Network, Sharon Sherman, says crime is still a problem.
They rarely have more than one security guard, and there have been weekends and other times where there is no security.
There have been cries for change at the complex since the murder of Connie Torrey in February of 2020. 2 months ago, Attorney General Letitia James and the owners of Skyline, Green National, made an agreement. If they don't fix the violations in 60 days, Green National must pay a $300,000 penalty. It's been 60 days, and Sherman says tenants want the Attorney General to take action now.
They want to see something done about it.
There's been a push for Skyline to get new owners. Sherman says even with a change in ownership, it will be a difficult task to ensure the building is safe.
We had been urging the city to put the building in receivership, which would mean that the owners still owned it, but a receiver would be put in to run the property. Just because if they do get a new owner, there's so many long-standing problems.
Sherman says at this point, she advises tenants to move out if they can.
It's just not a good place to live, and I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Where is it? It's one of our most discouraging things, buildings that I've ever worked on.
Now, Sherman says tenants are discouraged and still don't feel safe. She claims even the security at Skyline it does not stop or ask people for their ID or reject people from coming in.